Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to make the Pride embroidery kit from Poppyseed Creative. So the first step is getting your material and your hoop, taking that apart, and then putting the material into your hoop. When you're doing this, make sure it's even on all sides. Then put the hoop back over your material and then tightening that screw. Once that's nice and tight, you're going to flip it over and pull the material gently on each side so that the material is all flat in the middle. Next, you're going to take your hoop and place it over your design. You can either place it face down just on a desk, or if you'd like to see a little bit better, you can actually hold it up to a window. Then you're going to take a lead pencil or a seamstress pencil and draw your design onto the material. Once your design is on the inside of your material, you're going to take apart your hoop and flip it around so that the design is now on the top of your project. Now before you place that hoop down, you're going to make sure that your design is centered and the screw is at the very top of your project. Once you're happy with your design's placement, flip it round, make sure it's a bit more centered than mine is, and again, just adjust the fabric by pulling all the sides so that there's no bumps or ridges. So now that you've got your design on your material, you're going to get your red thread, cut it into 30 to 50 centimeter lengths, depending on what's easier for you to manage, and then we're going to thread our needle. So for this project, we're just going to be using satin stitch. So to do satin stitch, it means coming up from one way, going down the other, and then it's the same thing over and over. It's basically up and over for the entire project. I don't like to start from the very end because it can make it a bit difficult moving forward. So what I like to do is actually start at the first line. So we're going to try cover this first line in red. So just when you're bringing that first needle up, make sure that it's flush with the plastic there. You want to get as close to the plastic hoop as you can. So you're going to want to bring that needle up on your design and pulling it through. From there, you're going to leave about 2 inches of thread out of the way, and just make sure you're holding that with your fingers so it doesn't get in the way. We can't go to the very edge because that's where the plastic hoop is. So we're going to go just above that, following that line of the design and pulling that through. Then we're going to go back up just to the left of the red piece where we came up from before. Again, making sure we're getting as close to the plastic as we can. Coming up, seeing roughly where we're going to be putting the needle in. Trying not to leave any white gaps between our thread because that's not going to make our project look as nice. And then coming just next to where we put the thread down last time and pulling through. Now you'll just keep doing this until you fill the red section. If you get to the point where you don't have enough floss to finish the next line, that's okay. Leave those 2 edges hanging there and just start with a new piece of thread, doing the exact same thing that we were doing before. You're going to leave about 2 inches again, and then this time we're going to tie it with either the original 2 inches that we left or the excess piece of floss that you had. So for this, we're just tying a really simple knot, and I like to do it twice just so it stays in place. And then from there, cutting the excess off. And then when you pull that thread, that knot's just going to sit there without coming through. And then you just keep going and filling in the rest of that red section. Eventually, when this piece of thread gets too short, you can tie it off with that piece of thread, and you'll do this for the rest of your project. Now, pretending that that red is filled in, from here we would start as close to the red as possible for the orange, up until we cover that line there. The reason that we started on this side of the red and moved up is because sometimes coming from the outer edge down, we can lose the direction of the pattern and it can get a little bit wonky. So from here, it's safe to just go left to right and work all the way down. So when you're done, your pattern should look something like this. Make sure that it's nice and flat and there's no bumps or ridges in it, or there's no gaps as well. You can go back in afterwards if there are any gaps and just fill in the missing pieces. And this is what the back of your project should look like. See all those little knots in the corners all tied together. Now the next step is to tuck all these edges back. To do this, I use a folding method. So it's basically a fold and sew so that they all stay back. I'll put the link in the description of a more detailed version of how I like to do this. Once you've sewn all those edges back, your design should look something like this. From here as well, if your wooden hoop has any blue stickers on the silver bits, then you can peel them off because you don't have to worry about scratching them anymore. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and happy stitching!